Hello my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I have been asked about this palette a lot. It's a newish thing from Laura Geller. It's a full face cream palette. Yes, the Queen of Baked Makeup has put out a full cream palette, and I've had DMs and I've had comments saying, are you gonna try Laura Geller's cream palette? Best of the best cream full face basics. It's got 3 eyeshadows, it's got 3 face colors, and 3 lip creams down here. And here's why I was hesitant about this. I noticed that the full face palette has cream eyeshadows, and these are not cream eyeshadows that really set for long wear, okay? What use are those going to be to me? In my experience, when I don't use a truly long-wearing setting cream shadow, what I end up having is creasing, collecting of the shadow in the crease. It doesn't turn out to be like a great long-wearing look. And so that's why I was skeptical. And then I thought, but I do really want to try it, you know? Curiosity got the best of me. And I love Laura Geller's quality, not just for her baked stuff, but she truly has done other amazing stuff in her line. So I thought, let's give it the benefit of the doubt and finally try it. So I've been playing around with this for the last couple of days, and I thought today I'd try it on in a video. I do have my overall complexion stuff on right now. I pulled out this Better Than Block SPF 50. It says skincare infused serum foundation. It feels a lot just like a classic tinted moisturizer to me. Light coverage, my shade is light, so that's blended in all over, and then my coverage is really coming from the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear in Ivory. That's up on my under eye area. I mean, if you look in closely at like the sides of my face, you can see we're still seeing freckles and whatnot, but I am nicely covered on under eye T-zone. And then I set with my ProLux matte setting powder that came from Dollar Tree. Shade is Porcelain, really nice setting powder. I also went ahead and did my brows. There's nothing brow related in this little palette, so that is my Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil shade 4 and the Morphe Micromanager Gripping Brow Gel. So now we can jump into this palette and start using all the things. So I do like the shape and size of the palette. Compared to some of her baked palettes that incorporate multiple things, this is much more streamlined, but I think it's just easier to do that with cream pans as opposed to domed baked products. So I get that. A neat thing she did with the mirror is it's split, and we have a magnified part of the mirror up top and then a regular part down below. And I think a lot of people might find that handy, especially just in a mirror you're going to hold right up to your face. It's cool to have that magnified side. But let's look in close at what is actually in here. What we're going to first go to are the face steps. So we have a swirled, it's interesting how she stayed with a swirled idea here for a couple of these. Swirled bronzer, swirled blush, and then a highlighter in the middle. Again, these are lip and these are eye. The texture of the creams, they feel very smooth. They don't feel really heavy or goopy. I'm almost feeling a little shift as I blend one between my fingers, a little shift toward cream to powder. I remember in the 90s, a lot of products like marketed themselves and sold themselves as going cream to powder, and you could truly feel a profound change when you felt the products between your fingers. I'm not feeling it in a really exaggerated way like that, but I'm just saying they become smooth. They become very blendable, I think. And so we've got this bronzer here, which looks like classic bronzer swirled with tones of gold. And I'm going to take my Sephora 56 and kind of start blending this around my hairline. I'm going to dot it around too, because I think that lets you guys see what's actually going on a little bit better. But you could just dip into the pan as well. But the blend is happening with ease. This is a product that, as far as I know, just comes in the one shade. And there's definitely some glow in this bronzer, so keep that in mind. Like, I'm putting this over an area where, you know, I have some fine lines in my forehead. I'm not really wanting to exaggerate that, so I'm not wanting to over apply this product. But it's not just a straight cream, it's a cream with some glow. Really, all of these products, everything in here has some level of shimmer, even as you look at the lip products. But we're gonna pick up some more, and we're gonna get some contour going. Is it deep enough to do some contouring? Yes, it is. At least on my skin tone. I feel like for this to have a profound effect on tan and rich skin, they would need to come out with another shade family, you know, another palette with deeper tones. But as you can see, we're getting a nice little subtle shaped look. No complaints on like ease of use. This is very easy to put on. I'm running any extra just kind of down here at the jawline. But yeah, that bronzer is not super dark, does have shimmer, but is able to provide enough contrast to give me some contour there. Okay, let's go to the blush. For blush, it really looks like a swirl of like coral and maybe a little bit of plum, which looks really nice. So I'm gonna dab a couple of little dots there and then just blend that in so you can at least see the amount that I'm working with. And then I'm using yet another Sephora 56. This is just my smaller one that I reserved for blush. The formula feels pretty much exactly like the bronzer. Very easy to blend. It's not too thick. Also, you might wonder, is it all leaving a real tackiness on my skin? And I feel like it's not. Like I said, it's not a real complete 180 cream to powder thing, but there's a really blendable nature that these have and kind of a smoothness that I feel like they develop on the skin. Okay, would I add a little more blush? Yes, I would. Just tapping in for a little extra. A concern some might have is, as you're using a full face palette, you're having it open for tons of steps. How soon is this gonna dry out on you? How soon are the products gonna show signs of dryness? And I can't really answer that because this is new to me right now, but hopefully they're not quick to dry out. Okay, happy with that level of blush, really pretty. Now the highlighter that's in here, the one that's right in the middle of the palette, it seems to be more of like kind of a dewy gloss as opposed to something with a lot of actual shimmer. I feel like as I dab it on my skin, I see just more of a glossy sheen. There's a little shimmer, but it's just once it's sheared out, it just kind of looks glossy. If you want more of like a pearly highlight with some pigment, you could go to that top eyeshadow there. Just letting you know. I'm going to take some of this with my finger. I'm going to dab some of this on. I think you'll see what I mean. Just a couple little dabs here. You're going to look so radiant once this highlighter goes on. Trying to find the little brush I used to blend out cream highlighter. This is just a little Real Techniques brush, and I'm using it to tap that in. And it looks so juicy. Like I said, that middle highlighter, not so high on shimmer pigment, but leaves the surface of your skin looking more glass-like, I guess. If you're oily, just watch out. Like, I still don't feel over the top tacky, I'll tell you that. But if I were really oily, I might be a little concerned about using a lot of these steps and not really going in and setting them all, you know? And then, like I said, if you did want just a little more shimmery pop, you take that eyeshadow. I'm just gonna like pop a little right up in here where I didn't put so much of the other highlighter. And you'll see a little more shimmer pigment come off of that eyeshadow. Okay, there we go. Now, talking about the eyeshadows, how can you make these work? The way I justified it in my mind was I could put together a classic powder shadow look and then maybe use like one or two of these just as a little spotlighting shade, considering the fact that they will rest on the skin and not actually set to a long wearing state, like her Kajal long wear shadow sticks, you know? They are not like that formula. So here's one thing I'm gonna do first before we get into eyeshadow stuff. I am gonna use some eye primer. And another thing I thought I might try is going into that bronze, but using kind of a diffused brush and seeing how much I can like shear it out and maybe give myself actually a soft crease and just not apply the stuff too heavily and see how that goes. In reality, day-to-day basis, what makes me feel most comfortable if I'm gonna pull those in is to have an overall like look done and just use a tiny bit to spotlight, like maybe center of the lid or inner corner, but no heavy usage of the cream eyeshadows. That's what my gut is telling me on this. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some of this bronze right here with my finger, and it feels very slick, kind of a lightweight feel, but really thin, kind of slippery. Okay, I'm dabbing it on the outer part of my eye, and then I'm going to use this little brush from Real Techniques. This came out of a full eye brush set. This specific one is called Essential Crease Brush, and I just feel like the Real Techniques fibers just work really well with cream formulas, and look what I'm doing. I'm shearing that out a lot. No thickness of product. I'm trying to have it be almost more like a stain on my eyelid. You know what I'm saying? On the outer part of the eyelid, giving myself a little lift. You could even dip in for the lightest amount, and then I'm kind of using it like it were a powder shadow, really, in my application here. But I'm trying to thin it out. Could it be more opaque and thickly put on? Yes. It can look like that. It can look like that, you know, these shadows, but I'm not comfortable wearing them very thick, especially going into the summer months. Like, that's another thing that kind of gave me pause about this palette is like all these cream steps. And then what am I going to do? I'm taking the middle one, by the way. I'm just tapping it lightly all over my lid, really lightly, using a bare finger, picking up any excess. Okay, really soft. But going into summer months, all these cream steps, like I have so much confidence when I open up this baked full face palette from Laura Geller, which has, you know, all these powders in it, because I just know they're gonna last. But straight creams, I mean, I know I'm taking some risks here, and I know about anybody is, especially thinking people out there with hooded eyes, just going in with creams and nothing else. And somebody out there's probably shouting, why don't you just lay down the creams first and set with powders? That is an option. You know, we think of cream first, powder second. But one thing about these is they all contain shimmer. And if you're going to take advantage of the shimmer finish of the product, it's not going to be sitting underneath another product. You know what I'm saying? But I'm wearing it as light as possible. That's just what I feel like I need to do. I feel like my brush is clean and I'm going into the lightest shade. And I'm going to use that for a little brightness right in here. Or if I was just doing a real typical look on myself, I could go into that lightest shade and just like pop the center of the lid, you know what I mean? Blend it out so it wasn't too thick, and I probably wouldn't have a lot of creasing trouble with that. But I gotta keep it sheer and light here, okay? A little staying power update on that cream shadow. This is after only about 3.5 hours of wear. I definitely saw creasing. Kind of hard to get a great photo of it, but the shadow was certainly collecting in my crease and feeling tacky to the touch. I mentioned the Kajal Longwear liners. This is her formula that is very long wear, will set, will wear all day. I pulled out one here in the shade Dark Brown Coal, and I'm just going to use that. I love the magnified mirror, by the way. I'm going to use this like lazy liner on my upper lash line with this look. Just a little gentle, like outer 2/3 of my lid. Ta-da! And then maybe a little bit blended here on the outer part of the lower lash line. I'm going to throw on some mascara. I'm going to use Laura Geller since I have it, the Kajal Longwear Mascara, and I'll be right back. We'll do some lips. Alrighty guys, only thing added is mascara. The Laura Geller one, the Kajal Longwear Mascara. It's a good one. It's pretty thickening. I've got that on top, and I actually have the e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes because it's tubing and it won't smudge. Now, let's talk about the bottom part of the palette. We have 3 lip creams in here, and I have swatched these on my hand. They are sheer. It's kind of like sheer lip glosses put into a pan. It's interesting because Laura Geller has done panned lip products in like her larger palettes, like the Beauty Book type stuff, and they've been more like pigmented pressed lipsticks. These seem like more pressed glosses. So there's 1, 2, and 3. One is kind of a corally pink shade, and then we have a peach, and then there's a pearly one. When I've played with these in recent days, I've kind of been layering them up on top of other things. This is actually my first time using them on just bare lips to see how colorful are you. So we're going into that one on top of my lips. Let's see. Texture-wise, it seems like a little bit shinier type of formula compared to the cheek colors and the eye colors. A little more juice in these in the bottom. I'm building. There's not loads of color here, just letting you know, but that's that shade. Pretty well built up on my lips. I might add a little bit of the middle one. If you layer that up, it starts to look a little more peachy nude. And then maybe we get on our pinky here, just a little bit of the pearly one. Shiny sheer. Center of the lip, maybe? Okay. Alrighty, so this is the Laura Geller Cream Palette. I love multitasking. I love a lot of things in one. That being said, I'm not sure wearing this and this alone is going to be my favorite thing to do, especially over the course of the summer. Using the highlighter, granted you wouldn't have to use the highlighter all the time, but I've got a lot of glow on my skin. I'm not as tacky to the touch as I look like I'd be, and that's a two thumbs up thing here. My skin, my coverage is powdered underneath this, and then I've layered up the cream steps. I'm gonna keep an eye on the eyes all day. I went as sheer as I could with that to try to avoid creasing. But if it were up to me, what I might have done is just kind of expanded the face steps a little more, maybe given a few more blush colors, maybe taken some of the iconic blush colors that are in her baked line and transformed them into a cream. Like take recognizable shade names like Pink Buttercream or Tropic Hues or whatever and expand out on cream blushes in here. And maybe an additional bronzer option that wasn't so shimmery. I would have preferred that instead of the eye colors. Lip colors, creamy lip colors, fine. You want to throw those in there? That's fine by me. That's a texture I'm definitely wanting to put on my lips. I like the packaging design. Again, I'm a fan of multitasking, but it doesn't give me, in reality, the whole one and done vibe of a powder palette. Powder palettes, I feel like pick one bronzer, I put that on, and I'm pretty confident, especially Laura Geller's formulas, that the bronzer, the blush is gonna go on and it's gonna stay all day. Here, I'm putting on these and I'm thinking, well, I'll probably need to set that a little more with something, right? And cream eyeshadows that don't set just don't really lend themselves to a reliable all day look. So it's like, it's fun, but it's really feeling more like a piece of a larger puzzle to me in a practical sense of staying power. But as I sit here right now and it's freshly on, I've got to say my skin looks radiant. I look really fresh. The skin glow and gleam is just popping off, and I'm not too sticky. I'm not a super oily skin type, so the cheek products may do okay for me. If somebody's just waiting for me to say whether this is like a home run, two thumbs up, I totally recommend it to everybody type of palette. I'm just not feeling that way about it, but I still like it. I still think we got a good concept going here with multitasking. It's just, you know, your skin type and whether you think you could realistically pull all these steps off, just popping it on and being good to go for the day, or are you gonna need to set certain steps? Are you gonna need to go super duper light on certain areas? You know your own skin type, but I would love your opinions, guys, in the comments section. Let me know how you like to use this. But thank you for requesting a video on this. I love trying new things. I love trying things that I know you're interested in. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest, and I will see you all again very soon. I love you. Bye.